Good evening, everyone at home. It's a very warm welcome from me in the studio, my daughter, Ndlakuse from Nalibali. Welcome to the Men's Literacy in Bizo webinar number 9. It's a very powerful evening, and I love the fact that each and everyone at home is joining us today, whether you are a father, you're a grandfather, you're an uncle, male caregiver, literacy practitioner, educator, community worker, you're a ungutreba, you're a counselor, you're a traditional leader, or just someone who believes ukuthi children, they deserve meaningful relationships with their parents, especially men, especially their fathers that are around them. On behalf of Unalibali, I would love to thank you in advance for making time to be with us today. So our discussion topic is centered around something that is very close to my heart, something that is so important to all of us. The title is Building Strong Father-Child Relationship Through Reading. In other words, when we talk about reading, we're not only talking about books like textbooks or storybooks. You're not, talking about exercise books or stationery. No, we are talking about sitting comfortably next to a child, holding those positive conversations. We are talking about, granting our children, an opportunity to be listened, an opportunity to be expressive, as people that are part of that family nucleus. We are talking about telling stories, sharing lived experiences. We're talking about laughing together, having those meaningful conversations, and of course, creating memories every now and then. Sometimes it's those small moments abantwana bethu abazithandayo, and of course they remember such for the rest of their lives. So today we'll be exploring how can fathers, how can us as amadoda, fathers, men and male caregivers, can use reading, can use our storytelling and conversation to build stronger and build healthier and more meaningful relationships with our own children. We've got a very exciting conversation ahead of us, and I encourage each and everyone who's a viewer at home to participate. Yes, it's very important to watch, but of course we highly encourage maximum participation. So please feel free to use the chat throughout the webinar. Share your experiences, share your thoughts, and even your questions with us. We've got experts in the literacy and fatherhood field that are with us today. And most importantly, we want to learn from one another. Yes, the theme. The theme is building stronger father-child relationships through reading. The reason I'm saying this again, maybe when I was starting the program, you're not here. It's very important for all of us to know the theme. All right. Most people, they are always asking about men's literacy in Bizo, and of course, few people, they are asking about Nalibali. So I'm going to have to ask my producer to produce a slide so that we can, just say something, capture the essence of who Nalibali is and what is it that we do. The next slide. Aha. About Nalibali. Unalibali is a national reading for enjoyment campaign. And of course, we are so committed in nurturing a culture of reading in our homes, households, like schools, in the community. Of course, Unalibali is well known because of the, sustainable reading clubs that we're running. Every community in South Africa, we've got these literacy events that are lined up each year, celebrating literacy calendar days. We've got our own multilingual story resources like the Nalibali supplement, and we do have powerful community partnerships with different stakeholders across the country. Nalibali empowers children as well as caregivers so that we can all collectively build a strong early literacy foundation. So Nalibali has got a child. Men's Literacy in Bizo program is a child of Nalibali, is a Nalibali initiative with the main aim of strengthening the role of us as men so that we can collectively promote literacy, learning and storytelling in our families as well as communities. We, through the Men's Imbizo, actually creating safe spaces that are good for us so that we can reflect, so that we can give each other feedback, fathers, mentors, male caregivers. We are exploring our own influence on children's learning and well-being. So Men's Literacy Imbizo is a very, very powerful program, shining the light on the importance of positive male role modeling, and also ways that we can employ as men, as we are eager to support learning that is taking place at home. And of course, this is one of the powerful models of community leadership through literacy at its best. Our program encourages men to see themselves as literacy champions who can inspire a new generation of readers. So this is not about the role models that you see on TV or the role models that you see on magazines. It's the literacy champions upper ekai, upper edladleni. So yeah, man, expect a lot of information that will be flowing today. And of course, if you are watching at home, let us start with the opening question for the audience. Before we bring in our panelists, I want to ask or raise this question to our audience. The first question for our audience today is, when was the last time you sat down with a child and read a story, told a story? When was the last time you simply had a meaningful conversation with children and underline? What made that moment so special for you? So please share your answers in the chat. There is no wrong or right answer, right? It could have happened maybe yesterday, last week, last month, or 1988. Who knows? Tell us about that moment. Thank you so much in advance to those that are actually writing and sharing as we speak. Here comes my favorite time. Allow me to give our panelists, their opportunity to introduce themselves. And our first, on the left, we've got Mokgeti. Mokgeti, my brother, can you please introduce yourself briefly? Mokgeti is still trying to connect. Maybe there is some low network bandwidth where he stays. Let us give this opportunity to Unsika, who is in the middle of our poster. Can you please, my brother, introduce yourself?
Good evening to everyone, to the panelists, and thank you very much to Mr. Tato, Mr. Ndlaguse, for inviting us to this webinar. Very important webinar as we are trying to tackle community issues that go beyond even illiteracy, but illiteracy indlela esingena ngazo izinto ezinye zazo. Igama lami ndinguNtsika, ndingowakwaScott, nguququlwana nguwahawuduka namahlathi. I am an assistant librarian with the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality. I'm on the children's side of things. So it is my everyday mission to try to get abantwana to read, to love books, and to get abazali most especially interested in spending time nabantwana nencwadi. So ke ndingayitsalanga ndizayibamba apho wona bhuti wami.
Thank you so much, Nzika. And moving right along, we've got my brother Unhlakanipo.
Good evening to each and everyone. Igama lami nginguNhlakanipo. I am from Mpumalanga in Middleburg. I'm a poet and an author. For me, I really appreciate this opportunity. I'd always say the reason why I started writing was because I always wanted to spark conversations with the with my content. And the reason why I wrote a book called 349 Days of Trauma, which was inspired by the tagline called Men Are Trash, which it's a question where you ask yourself, where does it start and what happened with men? And I feel like these are the conversations that we should be having. How can we actually build a better society with better men? So I really appreciate this opportunity. I've been working with young children in different schools, and I have compiled a book called "Stories That Bind Us" with the young
Mm.
children. So it is um, quite impressive to see that we have youngsters who have stories to share, and as men, it is important that we also encourage them to share those stories. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nhlakanipho. We're looking forward to host you one day so that you can actually tell us more about your book, and of course hear some of the stories with children. Big up to Unsika, our friend and colleague from the Nelson Mandela libraries, doing all the work in Udinik and all the libraries surrounding Gqeberha, KwaZakhele as we speak. Yeah, let me start with you, Unsika. So when you think about your own childhood, what role did a father, what role did a grandfather or an uncle or male caregiver play in shaping your love of stories, your love of reading or learning?
Uh, I'm one of the very lucky kids when I put Matota, because my father was very intentional about my reading, about my language proficiency, and nje ukuthanda kwami ufunda incwadi. I remember my first time ingqondo iqabuka ke ndidibana nencwadi. It was a David Baldacci book. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with David Baldacci, but he writes legal thrillers, legal suspenses.
Yeah.
One of the series I think that have been adapted from his book is King and Maxwell. But that was the very first author that I got introduced to, David Baldacci, because my father kept those books around. Even my proficiency in English, my father again was very intentional. He wayengumuntu shift at the time, so whenever he was free, we would go to the library together. So English, I knew it long before I even went to school, thanks to my father. So my father
Wow.
has been very instrumental in my love for language, my love for philosophy, my love for literature. So that has been the number one influence in life in him. It is my father, and still today, he's still very much a big reader, but more on the academic side. Namu ndiwela kulo kancane nowadays. So my father has been the most instrumental person in my life regarding literature.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Nsika. I think there's something that is very, very powerful from what you shared. And it reminds us, Uguti, many of us, they remember this particular person who introduced us to a story, to a song, to a book, or sometimes encourage us to learn. I love the fact that you are saying that your father was very instrumental and intentional. So it's not about making rhymes, right? But anyway, he was intentional about your own reading as well as language proficiency. The fact that he was working shifts, but then again, when he was free, it made time for both of you to visit the library. And here you are today, working as a librarian. We truly appreciate, that trail. In isiXhosa, I would say, siyawuxabisa lo mzila. That is why we are saying you guys are our literacy champions, including your father, my brother. Thank you so much. Those that are at home, I'm sure you are, watching, and of course, you want to say something. Feel free. Share whatever is it that you want to share. But of course, in relation to what the experts in the studio are saying, and also in relation to the question that was posed before introducing our panelist. Now, let's bring Nhlakanipho. I love this name, Nhlakanipho. I'm not sure if it has got the same meaning in isiXhosa as in the language there in Pumalanga. My brother, many fathers, they may think that reading with the child is simply about, improving literacy. Now, in your view, Nhlakanipho, how can reading and storytelling help build trust, communication, confidence, and emotional connection between fathers and children?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. This question is quite important, and maybe if I could like literally just break it down into different segments in terms of how does reading actually then builds trust, you know. I always say that reading creates a safe space, and it also builds this consistency with a father. Whenever a father comes back from work and he's like, let's go and read, you know, you literally feel like he's consistently there. And also the child would get the thing that I am valued, I am important. Like each and every single
Mm,
time when a father says, let me listen, let us go and read, you know, you understand also the value of reading. I believe that trust is built when a child realizes that a father is willing to listen, number one,
mm,
willing to spend time, and also being emotionally available. There's something that I literally wrote somewhere there where I said, before a child learns the words and the in the page, they learn the language of love, attention, and presence. So I do believe that the trust part would come in there, that you literally are there, you are there emotionally, you are there also physically, and you are showing that attention, you know. And then we move to the part where on how does it really breach the communication part, you know. So stories literally help children to express themselves. Sometimes you'd say they fail to express themselves directly. I've literally witnessed that working with young kids at schools, that they don't really have that confidence to communicate directly. But whenever they normally use their imagination, storytelling into expressing themselves. And I believe that it is that part where a father would sit down with you and listen to you, and you wouldn't know whether a certain character in a story or a certain situation may literally spark a conversation. So which is where that communication part comes along, which is you building that communication with a child as a father. Growing up, we had this thing that I don't know whether it was instilled in almost everyone, where you grow up fearing your father. Your father was almost a lion. You were scared of saying almost anything to them. You were just so scared. So I feel that part where they would sit down and start reading with you, that's where you feel you learn who they are. You are more comfortable in sharing things with them. And also in terms of building confidence, for me, which is one of the most important things in terms of building confidence, because at the end of the day, when a child, you'd ask a child, come forward and read for us, you can literally hear that they are a bit scared of coming to share their opinions.
mm,
But whenever, as a father, you are sitting down with your child, and it's not really about them being perfect in reading or them being perfect in telling a certain story, but at the end of the day, it is about them sharing with you that information, them feeling comfortable sharing with you. So I believe that whenever you celebrate them, you know, reading that short passage, whether it was perfect or not, but you are literally building that confidence. Sometimes you'd find that also I, as a parent, I am not really confident enough in reading. You know, I'm not really comfortable in reading, I'm not really that perfect in reading. But whenever your child notices that, oh, actually my father also is trying, and that literally builds that confidence that there's nothing wrong about trying, and there's nothing wrong about making a certain mistake, because it is not really about you being perfect, but it is about you
mm,
sharing those stories. So for me, with those building trust, communication, and also on building that confidence. But also, lastly, something that also our panelist mentioned earlier on. When he shared with us his story, so the emotional connections that we have with reading, you know, whenever you think of the lessons that you learned them through your granny, you learned them. So why aren't we as fathers also? Let me sit down and have the memory, just like our panelist today. I was sitting down with my father, and there was a certain lesson that I learned. There's a certain memory that really was sparked by the emotional connection that we had while we were sitting together and reading. So I believe that stories can also create those emotional connections with our children, which is something that we ought to focus on. If ever we really want to understand what our children are feeling, what they are going through, um, what their ideas are, I believe it is that time for us to sit down with them and start reading with them. And it is not only about reading, but also sharing stories.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Masina. Thank you so much, Nhlakanipho, for those beautiful points. I love the fact that you are actually highlighting a good relationship, between fathers, grandparents, as well as how they emotionally connect with their children through the love of storytelling. And of course, you said, Uguti, when a father is willing to listen, then that's how trust is being established. And of course, you said it does not only start with the reading at the page, but very, very important that we make use of the language of love and attention, to actually induce learning. And you did also say that confidence is one of the most important things. Yeah, children, they see when we have confidence, they see ukuthi nathi we are trying, they see, and of course they value the fact that we are trying and we are not perfect. Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate those beautiful points. I'm looking forward to our people and what is it that they are saying on our chat. Do we have Umokgeti with us? Yes, the next question will be the one for Mukherjee. I still see the first panelist, Unsika, Scott. All right, we do have Kayagazi, KC Sombani. What does she say? Uti, yo, very interested. I'm the owner of ECD here in Gqeberha, but in Dingumama, I love storytelling for my children at my center. Yeah, that's what Ukado is saying. Yeah, Mkaya, she's also coming here. Coming from here, Gqeberha. Much love and respect, Kayagazi. Thank you so much for watching us, watching the show, watching the webinar. Anati Lokwe, the kind of fathers this world we need being up madoda in those lolo. That's what Anati is saying. The kind of fathers. I'm sure she's referring to the kind of fathers, the caliber of fathers that we have in the webinar studio with us today. Pick up Madoda. Well, I am Madoda and we are Madoda. Yeah. Whichever Madoda she is choosing to refer to. Yo, and then we've got Ubongi Ngosi Mkhize. My brother. I feel a little ashamed to admit that the last time I read to a child was in the late 2025. Oh, Mkhize. Kabazel. However, it was a meaningful and rewarding experience. The conversation my niece and I heard about the book was insightful and engaging. I could see how the experience helped her relax, build trust, have fun, and think beyond the obvious. It reminded me that reading with a child is not only about the story, it is also about creating a safe space for connection, curiosity, and meaningful conversation. That's a comment for main man Bongingosi Mkhize, representing Nalibali in the KZN, the only province with a name and a surname, KwaZulu Natal. Thank you so much. Aha. Okay. So let's go back. Now that we don't have Umokgeti for now, I would love my panelists in the studio to actually tackle the question that was reserved for him. Some fathers and male caregivers, they say that they are too busy. They are not confident readers. And of course, they don't know how to start reading with their children. What would you say to a father who wants to become more involved, but they don't know where to begin? Are you going to take it, Tlakanipho?
Okay. Which I feel like some of the points I mentioned also last time, but I'd also say that when a father, it is quite I've been thinking about this thing all this time, that a man would tell you that I hardly have time. I wake up in the morning, I have to go to work. When I come back, I'm tired. But I always say that, you making that little time can actually determine the future of the child. It could literally change something that was literally going to happen. Because remember, we said it is all about also passing down the lessons through that storytelling. You don't necessarily have to be perfect when reading. And I also said it, if you are scared, just open a picture book, a book with pictures, and just have those conversations. What comes to your mind when you see this picture? Can you tell me a story? Not every time you are the one who's supposed to be giving out the information or the reading, but also give the child the platform to tell you stories. Maybe one day the child is the one who is telling you the stories, that bedtime stories, because you say you are tired, you are coming back from work. So normally when
Mm.
you'd sit down, give them that opportunity also to be in control. Let them share their creativity with you. And as I'd always say, we have also this perception that stories can also be told in English. So most persons, like, you only have English
Hey.
books, and I'm one person who doesn't who doesn't have a Zulu book in my house, and I'm like, yo, we have this mentality that literature in a way is in a form of English and only in English. If you are comfortable in isiZulu, share those stories with the child in isiZulu. Share those stories in a language that you are comfortable in. And 2 minutes of your time can
Mm.
literally spark a nice conversation with a child. So I wouldn't say, Uti, we don't have the time. You have to make the time at the end of the day.
Wow. Thank you so much, my brother. Beautiful views here. I'm quoting you, saying, making that little time can literally determine the future of that children. So, in other words, fathers that are watching at home, please let us not be too busy to attend to our children. They are our children for a reason. Thank you so much. At the same time, I want to thank each and everyone at home who is joining us. And of course, please invite more. Please invite. I just invited a brother from Coffee Bay. He is with us as we speak. Shout out to Sustainable Coffee Bay people that are watching. Shout out to people that are watching us from the diaspora. Shout out to people from Kenya, Congo, Mozambique, Madagascar. We've got people from Bumalanga, KZN, Western Cape is here, Gauteng. If we didn't mention, please say something on the chat. Thank you so much, man. We are still going with the show, with the webinar. We do have a set of questions once again to be taken by our lovely panelist over here. So, I've got this question with me right now. Some fathers may not have experienced reading or meaningful conversations with their own fathers. I'm not sure if you understand what I'm trying to say here. Okay, let me repeat. I'm saying some of the fathers currently that are fathering their own children, they may not have experienced reading or meaningful conversations with their own fathers. Now, how can they create a different experience for their children? How can they not just say, yo, my father was absent, so there's nothing I can do. I don't have a role model. Yeah. What can they do differently to their children? Any of you, Zika, I'm sure you're hungry for this one.
Putmatota, one of the mistakes we make as a matota is thinking you have to do things in isolation, right? And you do things in isolation because you are running away from shame or embarrassment or just indaba ye-failure, right? So, for example, bandinobuya nje umva kancinci kule nto yexesha, creating time, right, for your child. This coming weekend, I believe we're all going to be watching the rugby, most, right? So when watching the rugby, uzabuhleli ne-gents, right? Amongst the gents, usually there's always a guy who's a good storyteller. right? And it so
True.
happens, I don't know why, but the guys who are good
Yeah.
storytellers always happen to be good liars in the group. They always like those guys, but they always have nice stories, right?
mm,
You don't have to do it yourself necessarily, but also
Yeah.
exposing umntana to an environment or to people who are good at this thing that you are not good at is also you being intentional
mm,
about your child being good at these things, right? So you don't have to do these things in isolation. Or maybe you are lucky enough to have a friend like Unsika who does deal with abantwana on an everyday basis and does actually read to the kids. If you can't do it or you are ashamed or embarrassed, invite your friend. Uthi, "Ah, man, mfondini, khayenze man,
Mm.
ndifuna sifundele le ntwana, ndifuna sifundele le ntwana, khayenze ezaa nto zakho, nam ndibe nofunda."
Sure.
Uyabo?
mm,
So don't do these things in isolation, right? But also going back
Mm.
to what I said earlier about my own father, intentionality. You have to be intentional about these things. They can't happen
mm,
by osmosis. It can't be by luck. It can't be kwatini. It has to be intentional. If you want to be different from your father or your uncle who wasn't there or chose not to be there, whatever the case was, you have to be intentional and decide for yourself, but I want to be different. I want to be
Mm.
different than umalume. I want to be different to my father. So I'm gonna start this thing, but also keeping in mind, you do not have to do these things in isolation. You do have
Isolation.
brothers, you do have sisters, you do have uncles, you do have aunties, you do have cousins, you do have brothers, you do have sisters. These things are important.
Are you still with us, Nsika? Or is it me?
No, I think
Shakaniko,
he
can
lost
you hear me?
connection. I think, yeah, I can hear you. I
Oh,
think he lost connection. Yeah.
all right. You are more than welcome to take over, Marapara.
Okay. For me, like at the end of the day, and I'm speaking from, I'd say, from experience in a way. Those kids who are who are not, excuse me, who are not lucky enough to have those fathers who were quite present. They, and also mentioning that you should be intentional, but also at the same time, I'd emphasize the fact that you as a parent wouldn't want to deprive your child of certain things that you wish that you had. So I think it is your opportunity right now. If you say you want to be better than someone else, you should then not deprive your child of that opportunity of experiencing a father who is present, experiencing a father who intentionally wants to be a father. And I believe that at the end of the day, we learn from other people's mistakes. So
Mm.
those mistakes that happened previously, it is your chance to rectify them with your children. I have experienced um, children who wish what we do with them would happen in their homes. So what we would do, what I did last time when I hosted a book launch where we sat down with parents and we said to
Mm.
parents who need assistance, in learning how to read, in learning how to tell these stories, because it is quite amazing to find that other people are storytellers without even being aware that they can share these stories. So it is also important for yourself to be in spaces where you can learn from other people. And also, as he said, that you are not alone at the end of the day. We are a
Sure.
community. Yeah, so as much as a person might be a father, but I'm also a father to a child who is in a community. Every single child who is in the streets at this time, I'm also a father, and it is up to me, because they say it takes a village it takes like literally everyone to raise a village. So yeah.
Mm. Thank you so much, my brother. I've captured the beautiful points that you just shared. We must not deprive the children the opportunity to learn based from our previous experiences with our fathers. And well, we should just rectify the mistakes that were caused by our own fathers that were not present. And there's a comment here that says through Mokheti Nkosi MN. I like the space. That's Mokheti Nkosi. Liking the space. We love the fact that the fathers, the men and the male caregivers in our charts, are taking this into consideration. Tafaile Petra Zulu, let us be role model to our sons. And thanks for sharing. Thank you so much, Petros Zulu, for watching, and please share the word. We've got Utandile Machofana. Thank you. He just says thank you. That's a friend of mine from Coffee Bay, also one of the men's literacy imbizo activist that side. Tafaile Petros Zulu, true, and thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, team, family at home, for supporting the webinar continuously. We value your thoughts, man. Keep those comments coming and coming and coming. Unsika, before breaking into transmission, I was saying some of the things that caught my attention. There's always a guy who is a good storyteller. It doesn't matter whether you guys love rugby, love soccer, cricket, but there is a storyteller. And sometimes they lie, but sometimes they are very, very talented in the opposite of lying, So it's good to expose. I'm not saying expose your child to a liar, no, but expose your child to a storyteller so that they can all, grow together in this language proficiency and literary enthusiasm thing, so that we can have more Ntsikas, more of our children that will be working in the library space, especially men. We've got a shortage of men that are primary school teachers. We've got a shortage of men that are librarians. Yeah, we've got a shortage of men that are, good, like examples, literacy champions. Yeah, that is why we are having this show. That is why we are having this webinar. Looking forward to the next question. Does a father need to be confident? Does a father need to be a confident reader in order for him to build love for reading in his child? So what simple alternatives can he use? Let's say this guy is coming from a background where there was kind of censorship, like most people were not confident, like in his family. So he does not have a role model as far as confidence in speaking, in front of people is concerned. What can he do? What alternatives he has so that his children can actually read?
Okay. Can I take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I believe also, and it's something that I think I've been emphasizing, right? In terms of like a father not being a perfect reader, but he needs to be present at the end of the day. And then keeping that in mind, I think it's the first point that we should keep like in mind. So children do not need fathers who know everything, yeah? But they need a father who is willing to participate. So that firstly, that willingness to participate. So a child learns from seeing that reading is valuable. So whenever you see that, I'm showing interest. So already a child wants to learn. So when a father is excited by the involvement of telling stories or from the reading, it sparks that interest in a child, seeing that reading is actually quite important. And also making mistakes while reading can even teach a child that reading is not is literally a journey. Reading is a journey, so you are bound to make mistakes. But also storytelling, and I'm repeating also this point: storytelling does not always require a book. So there are simple alternatives that a person can use, which is sharing your stories from your childhood. Sitting down with my child and telling them, hey, at this point in time in my life, when I started school, I feel like everyone can tell a child that. I think as men, we should stop wanting our children to fear us. Let them respect us. They shouldn't
Hey,
fear us, but let them respect us. So you, by sharing those stories, I feel like you are building that comfortability around you. So also telling family histories and stories. I believe most men love telling stories about where they come from, how they grew up.
yeah,
Yeah. So use your interests also in sharing these stories, as much as you are not also confident enough in taking a book and reading, or also sharing other stories. But I believe that there are things in your childhood that you would want to pass on to your child, and also like teach your child on how to create imaginary stories. That is where we get your
mm,
fictional books. As we grow up, we start writing fictional books because you sit down, you are creative. Just create a story out of nowhere. And as much as we say it's lying, but it is fiction at the end of the day. So like
straight away.
you teach them something new. And also you can literally sit down and talk to them about lessons that you have learned, or your challenges personal challenges that you went through. It is also an opportunity for them to learn from whatever challenges that you went through. So you don't really have to sit down and think of a story. Crack your head now. Just tell them about personal challenges, something that you are comfortable talking about. And also, I believe that we live in they call it a digital age. So where
Mm,
technology is around. So they are audio stories, right? So if ever you feel like today, let us not share a story, but let us listen to a story. Let us talk about this story after listening to it, and that goes back to sparking those conversations. I feel like we don't have an excuse. Like honestly, we don't have an excuse of saying I can't share a story with my child. They are audio stories at the
hey,
end of the day. Just play them.
true.
Just play them and listen
Mm,
to them. That alone, it creates that interest in a child. And also just watching those stories, watching and discussing afterwards. And also there are educational apps, I believe, that we have right now, where you have those
true.
short stories where people could just share those stories in different languages. They can translate them to English, isiXhosa, isiNdebele. Sometimes I'd feel ashamed for the fact that I only know Nguni languages alone, and if you
Mm,
deprive yourself of that opportunity to learn even other languages, that you'd regret, just like me. Why can't I learn? So also as a parent, have that thing that I'm comfortable in sharing stories in whichever language, because I always said that I used sometimes feel ashamed that hey, uzothini umntwana when I can't even read English. So just take a Zulu
yeah,
book, share a short passage in a Zulu book, and try to read the spade with them. Laugh together when you make those mistakes, but you know that in the process you are learning at the end of the day. But also, I also said another thing, I would say you should allow the child to also become the storyteller. Allow the
yes.
child to become the storyteller. Give them that confidence that they can also tell those stories. Show that interest and encourage them. I feel how I discovered that I could write was because every time in the classroom, whenever I was sitting, there were people, 8, 10 people, who were
Mm,
surrounding me and listening to all these stories that I was telling. I would tell stories. I
okay.
would make up a story, and people would be so interested in a manner that they would feel like, this is true, man. This is actually true. At the end of the day. So just give your child also that confidence in sharing their stories. Sometimes they say listening is a skill, and your
Yes.
child experiencing that from you as a parent would, yeah, you are willing to listen to what I have to say. My opinion actually matters. My stories actually matter to you. So let the child also
Sure.
become the storyteller, and also make reading a shared experience. At the end of the day, it's not a test, it's a shared experience. We are not here to test who is good in doing this, who is good in doing that. So do not only focus on how one pronounces a certain word, but make those mistakes. It's not about pronunciation at the end of the day. Ask questions also to the child and encourage them to use their imagination. So for me, I those I would literally tell a father that, like right now, whenever, to say that there are so many alternatives. There's just so many things that you can do with your child in terms of literacy. So don't make it a boring experience, but make it a fun experience.
Wow. Thank you so much, brother. I love these points. It's true that when we are attending Men's Literacy in Bizo webinar, there's a lot of new information. There's a lot of new learning. You just said, Tuguti, storytelling is very, very important, especially when the child is also taking the lead. Let me also touch on what Anati Ayauko saying from Facebook. I want to start a reading club for the kids here in the complex, but I don't have resources. There are so many children up in Kashweni, because in most local schools, children in grade, they are struggling with reading, which makes them not to participate in class. Kuba bazithembanga. Xolweni botata, ndingumama otshisekayo kule program. Enkosi. Thank you so much. Nati, our producer, is watching this comment, and of course, he is going to send more information your way. We've got another comment from YouTube. We've got another comment from YouTube. What's the YouTubers are saying? Okay, just in a minute. I just wanna capture this one correctly. Oh, okay. We've got Abangile Naledi 7778. Abangile says, I love that you guys acknowledge that you can sit, read, and tell stories to children, even if they ain't your own. And some of the kids don't have fathers or parents. That's very, very important. Yeah. The message is right here in front of my screen from Tabangile Naledi 7778. Thank you so much, Tabangile. Thanks to my panelists as we are continuing with the program. So as I was saying, Puntlakanipo was saying, oh, right, hey, I'm cross between the two now. I want to say something about the panelists, and then the viewers at home are like, Tafaile Petra Zulu is in. Storyteller encouraging the kids for loving to read and write. Thank you so much. Utafaile Zulu is actually, sharing the same light as our brother Untlakanipo, especially on the important use of storytelling. It can include, the childhood stories that we have, or things that are interesting us. And let's make sure that when we have those positive conversations, according to Untlakanipo, our children are not scared or frightened of us, but they have those moments. In fact, they are actually respecting us. Yeah, and as fathers, we need to be present. That's one of the most important things in our children's life. Yes, we are not a know-it-all kind of person. We're not gurus in that department, but what is important is our willingness to form part of this union. We are fathers for a reason. We are parents for a reason. I love the fact that he said we must make reading a shared experience, not a test. So reading is not an exam. E-reading is not an assignment. E-reading is not an assessment. Icona, we are allowed to make our own mistakes. We're allowed to read because this is a journey. We are not allowed to bring a red pen because we want to mutually connect and mutually take part in this lovely engagement. That's me as a father or a male caregiver together with my children. And when I say my children, it could be my biological children, or children at the center, children at the community, children at the library, children at the school that I serve. Those are all my children. IsiXhosa sithi umfazi uzalela omnye. Now I am coining a new one. Indoda ikhulisa umntwana wenye. So that means abantwana ngabethu xa sisonke. All right. Another question to my lovely panelists. This is a challenge to every father and male caregiver that is listening today. Punsika, if you could ask every father and male caregiver listening today to make one commitment to the children in their care, what would it be?
I'm gonna sound like a broken record today, because I'm currently in the space I am alive in, and even in my work, I'm stressing two things, and especially with Amadot, right? Because I understand the psychology here too, because I'm a man myself. Number one is intentionality. Please be intentional about this thing, because it is not an overnight process. So the commitment the father can make is umzekelo 10 minutes. 10 minutes out of my day, no matter what happens, I must schedule it 10 minutes and just read. You do not have to read the entire book. Umzekelo, you do get books like this. These are called the picture books. This is the picture book Unhlakanipho was talking about. These are the picture books.
Yeah.
Yes, Lena. Inside the picture books, you get a story, but a lot of it is a picture. So the book is already doing half the job for you. Yeah, doesn't take long. The book is already doing the job for you. The imagination yomdana will do the rest. The excitement and the imagination yomdana will do the rest, and all you need is 10 minutes. The second thing I like to stress with amadoda, please stop wanting to do yonkinto in isolation. All right, there are resources, there are government departments. Umzekelo, at your local libraries, every holiday, there are what are called holiday programs. This is where kids can come and do crafts, but also they do get storytelling and reading as part of a program, Liana. So now you ungaba inxalenye yalando, and come and see how the storytelling thing is done. Man, umntana ndimfundela njani. Come and pick up tips payana. It's free of charge. You don't have to pay anything. 10 minutes of your time. So just two things. If you want to talk about the commitment, commit to being intentional. Commit to being intentional, and commit to whatever few minutes or time that you make available for wena nomntana wakho. But please be very intentional about your child and what you want out of your child.
Wow. Thank you so much, my brother. Hlakanipo?
And I also believe that the first thing that I would say, and it is also to emphasize his point, be present. One commitment that you literally need to make: be present. And but maybe I'd say when I say be present, one wouldn't understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying just be there, but be present emotionally, be there psychologically, be there. Let a child feel your love, let them feel that you are interested at the end of the day. Because there's one thing that I've always said, that most children admire their fathers. They want to be like their fathers. So be a better person, so that when that young child says, I want to be like that man, they want to be something amazing and not someone who is literally absent. Because I believe that what we do to our children are things that our fathers used to do, and we feel like men are not supposed to do this, men are not supposed to do that. And I feel like that's a bad example at the end of the day, because as a man, you feel like it is not your responsibility to raise the child, but it is only to provide. But we lose that sense of what is providing. Providing is not providing financially also, but it is also providing that love, it is also providing that warmth, it is also providing that knowledge at the end of the day. It is not only a financial thing. So one thing that I would say is be present.
Sure. Wow. Thank you so much, brothers. Starting from Munsika, intentionality is key. And of course, he's saying this commitment is not an overnight thing. And he encourages us as male caregivers, men, big brothers, uncles, grandfathers, grandparents, especially Amadoda, to have that 10 minutes reading daily for our children. And that brings us to Eldin House from Uppington, Northern Cape is in the house. Hello, Northern Cape, NC. Thank you so much. Thanks for this, Nalibali. Definitely lovely conversations that we need. That's Eldine House from Uppington, Northern Cape. We see you. And we've got Usabule Lafede. Great work, Jones. This is exactly the kind of platform and content we need as young fathers. Thank you so much, Putsia. And please share the word. And we've got Mok G from Nalibali. Gentlemen, our kids need us. And I'm glad we are having these conversations. That's Moheti Ngosi. I've got the Checky. Feeling proud about this initiative and looking forward to bring Nalibali to our local town. What's your local town, Checky? The nature of this platform, plays an important role within our communities. We definitely appreciate your capacity, and we are very proud. Yeah, that's Checky. We're interested which town, and of course we've got hey, Chanda Piwa Fumo, my colleague from Nalibali. Great conversation here. Big up, gentlemen. Fathers shape children's attitudes towards reading. When children see their fathers reading, telling stories, looking at books and discussing what they have read, they learn that reading is something valuable. Thank you so much, Shobamu Chanda, for that insightful comment. A father's voice, also from Chanda, can really be their child's inner voice. So when you ask them about their story, just saying, tell me what you think about this story. You have already said, my child, your thoughts and your voice matter. Yeah, I feel like this is one of the most powerful men's literacy in Bizo webinar ever. I wish more fathers could just join into this beautiful initiative. Mind you, a father does not have to be a good reader to participate. Just like one of our panelists was saying, he can tell a story from his childhood. Tlakanipo did also mention that, or ask a child to read to him while he listens and show interest. That goes a long way, just like what happened to the story of Mr. Nsika Scott and his father. Wow, thank you so much, Chanda. Hey, keep them coming, my sister, keep them coming. We love these powerful, refreshing comments from you guys. We appreciate the thoughts and the comments. And of course, we are missing the questions. Do you have any questions for our panel today? All right. We've got the last question for viewers at home. We've got the last questions for viewers at home. After listening to today's discussion, what is one thing you will do differently with a child in your care this week to create more time for reading, storytelling, or meaningful conversation? Let me attempt an isiXhosa translation of this. Emveni kokuba niye naphulaphula le ngxoxo imnandi kangaka, ingaba yintoni le inye uza kuyenza ngendlela eyahlukileyo kumntwana kubomi bakho kule veki ukuze uqiniseke into yokuba wakha ithuba elingakumbi lokufunda, ukumbalisela amabali nokuba neencoko ezakhayo? So that's our audience final question, and we're looking forward to have your comments in the chat. Well, yay, Unsika and also Unhlakanipho, they are carrying this literacy webinar very well. So as I was saying, Unsika said intentionality is very key, to us as fathers, to us as male caregivers. Unhlakanipho saying be present. It's very important for us to be present. And of course, when we say we provide, according to my brother, we are not just providing finances. It's not about money alone. It's about love. It's about books. It's about everything that will build our children today. Yay. Yeah, gentlemen, is there something that you want to say? Just a little something that you want to say. You just want to keep it out of your chest.
Okay, if I may start when Anhlakanipho, so sorry, my brother. I think when I put my daughter, since this is a men's literacy in Bizo, I just want to remind the fathers about loving your child, being present for your child, reading to your child, all those good things. It's not a competition with umama. You are not in a competition with umama. This is about you This is about you creating
Yo.
memories with your child. This is about you living good and lasting memories with your child. It's about how you want to be remembered by owakho umntana. It's not a competition, no
Yo.
mama. We are not doing this thing because we are trying to convince mama, but look at us. We are not izinja. Look at us. We are not deadbeats. It's not about that. It's about a father's love for their child and how do you want to be
Yo.
remembered by your child. And the things we are talking about, most yazo as funisimali. You don't need money. They simply require you be intentional as a father, you be present as a father, you show up, and where you feel you are lacking, as I've been saying, please don't think you have to do things in isolation. You do have friends, you do
Hey.
have family, you do have your local libraries. Bakhona onhlakanipho, and I'm sure bakhona on social media, bakhona obhuti madoda. Unalibali is also a free service. So there's a lot of help around you. You don't have to feel alone. But just most importantly, it's not a competition, this thing. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be Mr. Amazing. Just 5 to 10 minutes every day of you being intentional, showing up and doing what you can. It's not a competition, no mama.
Yo. Yeah, well, hey, I don't know how to actually respond, but I think if you were saying that in isiXhosa, I would say isiXhosa astoliko. I guess English aitolikwa. Nhlakanipho, just your last comments. Thank you so much, Budzika.
Okay. I'd love just to mention one thing also again, through our experiences and traveling to different schools with young children. I'd like to also say to men, Uguti, our young boys really need us. And it is quite painful to know that in a class you'd find that 80% of the kids who can't read are young boys.
Yo.
And just to show that fathers are not really present in their children's life, and I'd really like to say that let us be present. Again, like there are just three things just to summarize. I believe some of the things that we said. I wrote this thing just now that a father's memories can become a child's first library. I don't know where I heard this thing, but when you share those memories with your child, that could literally become the first book that they've ever experienced, in their life. And also another thing, a child who knows that their voice is heard grows up believing that their voices really matter. And
Wow.
I'd say someone asked me a question and he said, why are you guys so quiet? So many things are happening around our communities. Why are you quiet? And I was like, our voices back then, when we were never shown that our voices were valued back then, you know.
Mm.
And I believe it is that time right now where we show our children that their voices really matter. We need those people who will go there to those parliaments to talk. We need those people who will fight out there. And those are our children because they are our future at the end of the day. And the last thing that I would say is that the story may end when the book is closed, but the connection created through that moment stays with the child. And that is the first point that was mentioned earlier on when we started, that memory that happened back then with my father is that one that comes back in my mind. And just because we close that book, it doesn't mean they will forget, but they will remember the person who read that story to them. And that is the most beautiful thing. And lastly, let us be present again, presence.
Hey. Yo. Yeah, no, brothers. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, Nzika. Thank you so much, Tlhakanipho. Thank you so much for the flow of ideas and allowing your well and lived experiences to overflow and bless us with such valuable information. Chaki, feeling proud about this initiative. Looking forward to bring Nalibal to our local town. the nature of this platform plays an important role within our communities. We definitely appreciate your capacity. We are very proud. Also, with Uchagi Chagi here, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate Nali Bali for bringing men's literacy in Bizo and the experts to the fore, to the front, to us, at the back of our homes. And yeah, man, this is it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We've got to Zenani Mapel or Mapela. This is a great initiative. Thank you guys for making reading and storytelling fashionable. This will also be an awesome contributing factor in creating a bond between fathers or father figures and kids. So we know we've got our people that are identifying as father figures. So according to Zenani, this men's literacy in Bizo webinar speaks to our people in so much depth. Yeah. So some of the things that stood out from what Unsika and Tlakanipo just said. Tlakanipo, uti our children, they really need us. Like our young boys, they really need us. Unsika, uti, you are not in competition with the mother. It's about the father's love for the child. Yeah, man. How I wish all these quotes can be contained in one book so that all the fathers can actually have food for thought and discuss whenever we having men's literacy in Bizo workshops throughout the country. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I truly appreciate you. And of course, I appreciate each and everyone at home tuning in, sending in those chats. Remember the final question. After listening to today's discussion, what is one thing that you will do differently with a child in your care this week so that you can actually create more time for reading, more storytelling time, and more meaningful conversation? Our panelists said that our children, they must respect us and not fear us. We need these positive relationships more than ever before. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who joined us for today's 9 Men's Literacy in Bizo. And a special thanks to our moderator, Umadoda Ndlakuse, our panelist, Mr. Nhlakanipo Masina, and Mr. Nsika Scott. That's it from our producer, Utato Mahlangu, and Prudence Erens. Yeah. Well, our next steps and opportunities to get involved, Mthambi, you're asking yourself questions. Man, you need to start a men's literacy club in your area. That is so necessary. That is so urgent. And you can access free resources and ongoing support from us as Nalibali. We do have men's literacy in Bizo trainings. I'm sorry, something bad is happening. Yeah. Men's literacy in Bizo trainings, men's literacy webinar, just like the one we are joining now. And you can also participate in the National Literacy Calendar. World Read Aloud Day, the Literacy Month in September, the International Mother Tongue Day in February, everything that we do in literacy space, especially as Amadoda, especially as fathers. Yeah. The next one, Tato, if we have, do we have? Yes, man, you can get these resources at our website, which is www.nalibali.org. Of course, we do have stories in all the South African languages. If you want story, you can just WhatsApp stories to the WhatsApp number 0600442254. And you can also get audio stories in all the South African languages. And I love the fact that we do have reading and storytelling tips because not all of us are confident. Not all of us have storyteller role models. So Unalibali is catering for that. And of course, we want a reading club and we want literacy tips. We don't want our children to get bored in our reading clubs. And I love the fact that it's a recommended reading list that we have by age, by theme, and by language, so that our children are not lost in this journey of finding themselves through reading and storytelling. If you want to be a Funda leader, we still have the online Funda leader registration, and you are available on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, as well as YouTube. I'm sure you're available on LinkedIn as well, everywhere. Unalibali is there. Unalibali goes where people go, and Unalibali goes where people does not want to go. That's us as Nalibali. Thank you so much. Enkosi kakhulu, siyabulela. Yalibucha. Siyabonga. Enkosi kakhulu. Thank you.
Madoda.
Akuse. Madoda Ndlakuse, Mr. Marvelous, aka the Doppler storyteller. Hlekazi.
Bhuti bathi watshiseka isifuba itheni unesitoro ufuna usixelela sona.
No, man, I saw Sfuba, something happened emqaleni. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. You know,
it's a safe space, Tata. It's a safe space.
We're still live. We're still live, my brother. Thank you so much, man. Be blessed. Be blessed. Thank you. Sure. Bye, guys. Yes.